Alright, it's a response video to a Desert something or other 14 guy, and I guess Venom Fang X on the general subject of religion and atheism and evolution. A lot of desperate arguments. First, I guess I'll say if this video gets ruined by YouTube, I'm going to leave it up, so you won't be hearing this part. So I guess I shouldn't say it. But anyway, I'm going to leave it up. I'll put in the description an explanation of why you got to flag this video and do something about it so YouTube fixes the problem I'm having. Every video I make, they screw it all up. And it's getting really irritating to have to upload videos 8 times. Alright, so anyway, back on the subject. Alright, so this one guy sent me a link to this hour-long guy, professor guy from, that Irish university, whatever the hell the name of it is, can't remember the name. It's kind of why it's a really sloppy video. Notre Dame, that's the name. See, there, cut out the part where I remembered the name. Alright, so anyway, Notre Dame University. Professor, okay, it's just talking garbage. And look, I understand you people, you're not going to persuade anybody with these kind of convoluted, insane arguments, you religious folk. But I guess you'll give each other security and comfort, because then you'll be able to say to each other, oh yeah, we're not completely insane, we're not completely delusionary, we're not desperately hoping and clinging to a fantasy and a fairy tale to run away from reality that we're scared to death of. And maybe you can do that. Maybe you can aid and comfort each other in your self-imposed retardation, but it's not a persuasive argument. I mean, to make this some argument that there's some logical disconnect between evolution and naturalism or atheism. I mean, apparently naturalism is really strong atheist, so I guess I'm a naturalist. It's just idiotic, okay? I mean, our intelligence was built by nature, and it was built to function as an aid to survival. And but part of our intelligence isn't just intelligence. Obviously, we're built with the native needs, drives, and desires, the motivating part, the motivating half, the feeling half. And that feeling half corrupts the intelligent half. It motivates, compels it, drives it. And so that's why people like you cling to fantasy, is because you emotionally need to. You emotionally need a better answer than your bacteria with a brain. You don't want to believe that. Some of you can't even stand the idea that you're an evolved ape. Even that's too much to bear. So yeah, you emotionally need a better answer, and so you corrupt your own intelligence to contrive one. And that's what people did 2,000 years ago. They wanted an answer to questions. They didn't have any information. They were ignorant of the scientific reality, of the physical reality they lived in, and so they made up a story that made sense to them, that was, considering their knowledge level, wasn't unreasonable. But it's unreasonable now, okay? It's a foolish belief. It's a flat earth belief, and you have a right to cling to it, but don't insult my intelligence. Don't by sitting there and trying to diagram how you flat earthers have it right, and we realists, who understand physics, have it wrong, because that's just not going to work. So our intelligence was designed to be a logical and rational device. I mean, this professor guy could have just used the example of a chimpanzee. He could have gone to any other animal and said, look, they don't do things completely idiotic. No, they try to rationally deal with their environment. They figure out what a threat is, and they try to figure out ways to avoid the threat. And they make mistakes. And they make mistakes because they don't understand the physical universe completely. But they sometimes figure out how to get the peanut out of a beaker of water by spitting into the beaker and raising the peanut up. I mean, they do figure out how to do things. And humanity has done the same thing. And it's idiotic to say that our perception is incapable of describing or defining the truth. We've done it over time. We've acquired a huge knowledge base. We understand how the physics of the universe works. And it's just idiotic to say that we can't do it without God injecting the truth into our brain. That somehow our capacity to reason is flawed because in the past it has been motivated and driven by needs. And I've made this argument. We have a choice with this intelligence thing now, because we have so much of it. We can look at ourselves and realize that we can use our intelligence as a scheming tool to get what we want, or we can use our intelligence to find more elegant and meaningful goals for ourselves. And those things end up being called principles, things we believe in or devoted to, and that we live for. and we can have passion for those principles. We can use our emotions to empower those intellectual concepts. But that's our choice. We can live as a selfish, stupid animal, or we can step past the selfishness and have some passion for the truth and respect the truth and not slander the truth with convoluted, perverse, crazy-ass, nutty theories that somehow our brains aren't capable of being rational. I mean, it's just, and evolution somehow proves it. Sorry, no sale, okay? So I watched an hour of nonsense, and it really was convoluted nonsense. I don't think anybody can make a 10-minute video rationally explaining this guy's ludicrous theory, this professor's ludicrous theory. So anyway, and then on to Venom Fang. Yeah, you make some nice videos. You go the trouble of editing some nice little humor, some pictures. You don't even talk awful in some of these videos, which is good. You fix your microphone, which is great. But it doesn't. Sorry, I don't buy it, because there's no way you have ever had any respect for science or the dignity of our intelligence to spout the crap you do. The way you pervert the truth is just obscene. You know, to be talking about how God created the dinosaurs, you know, 6,000 years ago, and then flooded over them without even mentioning them. You know, I made a joke with somebody the other day. Well, why didn't when the first humans left the garden, why didn't they domesticate brontosauruses? You know, I mean, instead of the hooved animals, the clean and unclean, yeah, why didn't they domesticate brontosauruses? I mean, you know, great food source there, that must have been. You know, they're really slow, they're probably dumb as a post, probably really easy to train, really devoted little dumb lizards. But anyway, so, you know, to trash evolution with some simplistic nonsense that the fossil record doesn't contain the in-between creatures and all the rest of this stuff, well, yeah, you know the truth. You know how evolution works. A tiny, 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 minute percentage of the organisms that have existed on Earth is preserved in a fossil record. So it's like, almost like saying you get one representative out of every 6 billion. So you could pull one human organism off of the planet Earth at one particular time and say that's what a human being is. And it denies the existence of all the others, all the other races, all the other forms. So if you pick a midget one time and you pick a guy 7 feet tall the next time, you're going to have very different descriptions of what a human being is. And that's how the fossil record works. You don't get the incrementals because they don't get preserved. And as these other people that this other professor insulted, you know, Gould, the Professor Gould, and Sagan, he can't even say the guy, Carl Sagan, famous guy like that, he can't even say his name right, has to mispronounce it on purpose, just as a slight. And this is a professor, somebody getting paid probably a preposterous salary to mispronounce a name like Carl Sagan. I'm glad I still have some time here. But anyway, look, the idea that we've refined on Darwin's theory, we haven't changed it, but we have refined it. We've understood better how evolution works, and the real change happens in little isolated populations, and then those populations boom and explode into the real environment again. That's the definite. That's if they become more successful and then they become more dominant. Then they control, they take over, just as we took over North America, the Europeans. I mean, it's the same kind of spread of humanity. It's done the same thing. We've wiped out human species, or human races, whatever you want to call it. But the fact that we don't have these cleared, you know, some sort of fossil record is going to give you every missing link. It's just idiotic. And even the existence of the fossils, by your theory, you know, God would have deliberately done mineralogy that can't take place in 6,000 years. He did that on purpose. He created mineral fossils. He rockified, petrified things on purpose through a procedure, a physical procedure that we know can't take place in 6,000 years, just to screw with our brains. I mean, come on.
Sorry about the interruption, don't remember where I was, but let's just finish up. Look, the bottom line is that you're the one with the funny story. You got a God who creates this stupid, crazy world, animals eating each other, all this horror. Let's have big, giant floods, let's make covenants and break them and do all this crud, and let's persecute everybody because somebody ate an apple. I mean, you know, it's just a ludicrous story, and we know where it came from. We know it came from human ignorance. It came from the past, okay? God doesn't make any covenants with us, here, now, in this world full of all this information that compels logic to draw a different conclusion. And if God's going to persecute me because I don't find him, he doesn't float into my heart, well, that's his business. That's your crazy-ass motherfucking parent. It's not my parent. I'd rather be the parent of an evil, stupid, ignorant bacteria than any infinite intelligence who thinks this nonsense makes sense. That this stupid trial and tribulation of bullshit makes any sense. I mean, it's clear your God, your Jesus, doesn't show himself to the Muslim world or doesn't show himself to other primitive cultures in any other way but in the human form and some bastard holding a book and saying, believe the book or I will slaughter and kill you. That's how Christianity has spread itself on the world. And so, you know, for you pious assholes to think you have morality in your pocket, or ethics, or decency, or rightness, you're just full of shit, okay? You've comforted yourself with an evil blanket. It is a blanket of just evil, horrible, nasty, crappy ignorance.